Milling Through History presents The Sun King. There is perhaps no other ruler in all of Europe who is as well known and perhaps even as well studied as Louis XIV. With a reign which lasted 72 years and 110 days, he is the longest reigning monarch ever in all of European history. He was born on September 5th, 1638, to Louis XIII and Queen Anne of Austria. And his birth was seen as that of a divine miracle, as his mother had 4 stillborn births over the course of 23 years of marriage. With his arrival into the world, Louis XIII became greatly concerned that death would come rather sooner as compared to later. As such, he would create a regency council, with his wife as the head of the group. But upon his death, she would annul his will and thus make herself the sole regent of France. Her regency would begin when Louis became Louis XIV, King of France, on May 14, 1643. As her chief minister, Queen Anne had selected Cardinal Mazarin, and with these two individuals working together, they would help to influence Louis's belief in the absolutism of the monarchy and the divine right of kings. However, just a little over 8 years later, on September 7, 1651, Louis would declare himself to have reached the age of majority and, in March of 1661, assumed full control of the government and declared that he alone would be in charge, not having a chief minister. As a result, his belief in the divine right of kings and absolutism became clear. Interestingly enough, though, his decision to take charge of government on his own terms proved to be a rather interesting one, as he was known for choosing men of talent to work within his government. He would reform the French economy, government, and was able to control the nobility through their patronage in Versailles. By building apartments there and having the nobles live within the palace, Louis effectively was able to keep a close eye on everyone that was there. His keen ability to remember names and know exactly what they were up to allowed for him to ensure that no noble could go unnoticed. In addition to having this control, Louis would fight 3 major wars: the Franco-Dutch War, the War of the League of Augsburg, and the War of Spanish Succession. These 3 wars themselves almost merit their own individual episodes. However, the effects of being so openly aggressive meant that France would lose control of the seas to England and Holland, and almost all of Europe was always at war against France. But the French did enjoy political and strategic dominance over Europe for much of the 17th and early 18th century. On September 1st, 1715, 4 days before his 77th birthday, Louis XIV would pass away, and despite his longevity and reign, his health was not quite the same. He may have had symptoms of diseases which included diabetes, periosteitis, dental abscesses, boils, fainting spells, gout, dizziness, hot flushes, and headaches. And his death was even worse, as he had died from gangrene. And yet, Louis XIV is oftentimes remembered based off of what he had said. One quote he had said was that, "Every time I appoint someone to a vacant position, I make 100 unhappy and 1 ungrateful." And yet the one quote everyone does remember him saying is, "I am the state," but historians do not believe that this is actually a correct statement. Rather, we do know that Louis XIV had said upon his death, "I depart, but the state shall always remain." For more information, please consider these suggested titles. Be sure to click on the left-hand side of the screen to subscribe to our show, and on the right-hand side for our latest episode. And we will see you again for the next episode of Milling Through History.